All right, so today we're going to be doing the face-up supine anterior leg routine. So we're going to start by draping the leg first. You know, if we have a blanket on there for that extra bit of, draping and warmth, we're just going to get that out the way, just kind of bundle it off to the side. And then draping the front of the leg, if you've seen my posterior video on the leg, you know, it's the same. We're going to keep the edge of the drape, just kind of fan fold that edge in. You know, get that edge into position, and we're just going to, it's easier on the front of the leg because I have more control with her leg than I did when she was face down. I'm going to pull that edge underneath her leg and then just slide it up towards her hip. So we'll just tuck that in, and then boom, nice, beautiful little drape there. So my first few techniques is to apply lotion and do some glide. So I'm going to glide, you know, up towards the leg, you know, start flushing the area out, gliding right up towards that hip. So you'll notice, just notice the contour of the leg, right? We have this rather cylindrical-like structure. So, you know, I can glide straight up on the top, but don't forget about this, the rounded sides here. Now obviously when I'm working and gliding on the inside of the thigh, I just kind of have to taper off a little bit to make sure I'm not, you know, gliding up into an uncomfortable area, and we're just gliding up. So my next technique after my glides, you know, my palm glides, I could also add in fist glides as well if I really wanted to. Typically don't like to, you know, do too much fist gliding there. I will say that I do demonstrate doing the forearm glides on the posterior leg. I don't like the forearm glides on the anterior leg unless I'm really okay with my client, because then I'm like, hey, you know, it's a little awkward. But so my next technique would be to glide down and pull back. So kind of like this pushing, broadening petrissage technique here, and just working. You can see as I start gliding up towards the top of the thigh, this hand kind of tapers off and doesn't come up much higher, just because, you know, we don't want to come too high in that inner thigh. Then I want to do ocean wave across the thigh. Ocean wave is a great technique for big, large muscle groups like the quads and, you know, the posterior leg muscles, the hamstrings, and all the muscles you can find on the back of the leg, across the back as well. You know, if her thigh is small enough, I could even just get this alternating petrissage in there too if I really wanted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn her, roll her knee just a little bit. You see how that exposed the lateral side of her thigh? And then I can just glide up with my fists right up along that IT band. So IT band glides. And I can even continue to roll. Just kind of do like this, I call this the baker roll, kind of like you're rolling a log of dough, and just rolling that thigh in while getting a little bit of myofascial stripping type technique right there up on the thigh. So then I want to take the thigh, I want to bring her thigh in just so that as I roll her thigh out now, you know, she'll feel a little more comfortable. And I'm going to do this, I like to call it the puppy paw technique. So just curl finger pulling as I just strip back towards myself here, just stripping out the inner thigh here. And then right here, where a lot of muscle attachments are, you know, including the pes anserine insertion, just give it a light little bit of petrissage here, a light little squeeze. I can do that type of petrissage I've demonstrated before, where I call it the lazy man petrissage, where, you know, I place my hand place my hand basically on the table and just use my weight to kind of close my hand into that petrissage squeeze for me. So now I'll start to work right here around the knee. And I'll do that like broadening squeeze petrissage technique right there around the condyles of the knee. So we'll come back to the thigh. I'm going to move into the the shin here. Now with the shin, of course, we could still come underneath and work and glide on the calf muscles here, just kind of pushing up on the calves and stripping on the calves and squeeze on the calves. A little pull there. We're going to focus mostly right here on the shin muscles here, tibialis anterior and all that. So one is to just strip up with a good fist glide. Then I also like to do the fist shingling kind of technique and just kind of pull that muscle down and away from the bone. So especially if you have runners, they're going to like some work in this area. And then another technique I like to do on the shin is to take my hand and just rest it there. My thumb, see how my thumb is right there on that muscle? I'm going to use my hand to push my thumb in and then glide. So now I'm not actually applying any pressure with my thumb. My thumb is just used as a tool in this technique. So it's no different if I took this lotion bottle, pressed it in, and pressed the lotion bottle into her leg. Obviously my lotion bottle can't put any pressure, so the same thing about my thumb. My thumb isn't actually applying any pressure. I'm not contracting muscle to keep my thumb there. I'm just using this hand to push it into her muscle and just strip it down along the shin muscles here. So then we can work a little bit into the foot. Now you can get your stool, we'll cover, we've covered feet in another lecture before, but most of my footwork is to just do this curl finger. I do like the little love technique, little heart effleurage, curl finger pull, and just pull it straight back. Now I can also do my rotation. I like to do the little sponge ring out technique. So basically what I'm doing is I'm keeping her foot nice and flat and just rolling and just turning it out. And I'll just kind of swap my hands and turn it in, turn it out, supinate and pronate the foot per se. Now again, of course, I can come down, if I have my stool and strip up on the thumbs. I could even use some fist glides on there as well with this technique. So a decent little bit of work so far, simple enough to get by. Next few things we're going to add are some of the little stretches here. So what I want to do is I'm going to get a little bit of lotion on the thigh again. I just want to lift her thigh up and bend that knee, and I'll just keep my drape into place. So I can come here and rest on, getting tripped up on my cord, rest right here on her foot and hold her leg in position. And I can do this cupped hand squeeze on those quads here. So the quads, for the most part, are going to be in a stretch because the vastus muscle group doesn't actually cross the hip. So with the hip flexed, it's not going to, mean that the quads aren't fully in an extended state. So, I got that nice stretch in those quads as I'm working them. And I really like to add a little bit of tapotement. Now, I'm not always a big fan of tapotement in my Swedish routine, but just a little bit. You can barely hear that. See, even if I put the mic a little closer, you can barely hear that as I just do a little bit of tapotement right there around the tendons just above the knee. And then I'll just kind of work and just lightly glide. over that knee. Now I can even work into the calf here and just strip and glide up on the calf in that nice bent position, work into that soleus. But we're able to do some stretches now too. So I was working the hip here, but now what I can do is I can hook that knee and pull her towards me. And you can see how her hip actually lifted and is coming up off the table. So that's going to get a little traction in her hip and her low back. Should be relatively easy technique to do and perform, even, you know, with low body weight. You know, obviously if your client is huge, like an NFL linebacker or something, so you can also come in, hook with your shoulder, and I can lean in with the rest of my body to kind of lift that that hip up. So I'm going to make sure that my drape is nice and secured before I come into any more techniques. I can even use the blanket to give me a little extra security here with my drape, and just toss it there so she feels nice and draped, covered, and protected. So my next stretch, just a quick, easy hamstring stretch. So right there, you know, right before that knee starts to buckle and bend is where I'll probably find that's my deepest stretch. We can add more to the stretch just by extending the toes in the foot. Changes the whole game, as I'd say, right? She's even making some faces there like, ooh, that's a little extra. So then I will let the leg relax a little bit, let the knee bend. I'm gonna track the thigh right towards the outside of her body. Again, I always like to make sure my drape comes down, nice and protected. And I'm bringing the leg right there along the body, and I can just kind of press in with my hand on her foot and just push that leg into a deeper stretch. So I'm going to let that foot come back, or let that leg come back out, and I'm going to take her leg and cross her leg over. And so I really want to make sure that, you see how I can get this flap and really pull it over? And if you come over here, you can see that I actually have this flap right there on her hip here. So that way, when I come to this side, you'll notice that when I pull her over, my drape stays there and keeps her covered. So especially if I'm doing a couples massage with other therapists or clients in the room, you know, that way I'm not showing their butt to anybody. So, plus they also feel a lot more covered. So this is just a simple little stretch here. Now, we did add upper body rotation in a previous video with the head, neck, and the shoulders there. So we'll add an extra stretch to this, but you know, this is a perfect opportunity for me to work the IT band a little bit more. Sometimes I even like to hold that leg down, and I can get a little deportment around their hip. Yeah, not everyone might appreciate it, might feel a little awkward at first, but you know, with my regulars, I like to add a little bit of this there, and it's really nice. You know, sometimes I'll even kind of just hook their thigh here with my arm and just pull back. That's really going to get that traction in that hip, and then I can use my body to keep the leg in the position, and then I'll work with my deportment right there on that hip. So going back into that rotation of the shoulder, what I can do is I'm just leave her leg like this. I'm going to take her arm, I'm going to cross it right across her chest, and I want to push and lift her back up. What I want to do is I want to get the heel of my hand right here under the shoulder blade, and I'm just going to keep my elbow tucked into the table and basically just kind of have her upper back kind of kickstand it up. I'm going to have her take a deep breath in and then exhale, and I'm just going to pull her leg in to add this whole entire little rotation into the body. And so as she's breathing in, I slowly let her out of the rotation. And then as she exhales, I'll come in to the rotation a little bit more. So we're gonna do one more big rotation. So take a deep breath in, fill up with air. As she's filling up with air, I'm letting her out of the stretch, and then exhale, we'll come in to the stretch. So now just let her shoulders slowly drop. Take your hand back neutral. And now when I come out of this stretch, what I want to do is I want to keep that drape nice and tight. So I'm just going to kind of pinch right here and just take her leg right over, making sure that my drape doesn't get loose in that inner thigh. My next technique is to be using traction in the leg itself. So I'm just going to come right here, hook right under that leg, and just pull it straight back. Very simple, very easy one. Now, oftentimes I usually use this as my finisher, so I'm going to undrape her leg to demonstrate that technique that I'm talking about. Which I'll just kind of fold the drape back and get onto the table. Now, I know not every spa allows you to be on the table, but I'm going to hook right underneath her knees and just pull and just get that nice traction into her low back there. Push her back into position, and voila. Basic, simple, easy introductory anterior leg routine with some stretches. So, hopefully you learned something, and I'll do another video with more advanced techniques after that. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.